Who do you say that I am? In a couple of different ways, it's just so instantly complicated, this question. It asks for an understanding of whom the person Jesus is, which, as you answer it, already reveals something personal and distinctive of you, too. So how do you describe Jesus? Healer, liberator, political agitator, forgiver of sins, brother, the long-promised Son of God and Messiah. And so what's your theology? That's the first part. The second part reflects what you and even what the world around you need, and more so what you believe is really and truly possible. As the question of Jesus unmasks your thoughts and feelings about what you yourself do and do not, or perhaps it is better said, can or cannot imagine, hope, and trust in, the question then seems to demand a certain stance on the nature and essence of faith itself. How does faith in God function in our lives? Or more to the point of the first two readings, what does faith demand of us? Allow me to complicate an impelling question, the original one, which asks, who do you say that I am, just a bit more. When it pushes for an understanding of what faith is and what faith compels, it evokes an argument between religious traditions and spiritual perspectives on the nature and effectiveness of God's grace in our lives, and the necessity of our actions and our accomplishments. Faith, on the one hand, is something of the wonder of God, and on the other, the works we can and should be doing. After spending a year on Creighton's campus studying in the Jesuit Humanities program, I began attending Fordham University in 1997. I was sent to study philosophy, but I was eager to study with some world-class theologians with the faculty there at that university, and I immediately enrolled in a course by Father Avery Dulles, approaching 80, and what would become an honorary year for his service to the church when he was named a cardinal. I was simply excited to be in his classroom before he retired. The focus of the course was on the nature of faith. And we walked from one generation to the next, from philosophers to theologians, naming and describing faith, a kind of blindness, as if a leap into the dark, an ascent or perfection of the intellect, a choice, a gift of God. However you describe it, there are two qualities of faith in the readings today that I would like us to focus on. Isaiah's rendition, shrouded in dimensions of suffering, suggests great perseverance. Faith is resolute. Faith is steadfast. It holds strong in the face of adversity, and it cultivates a sense of confidence. You might call it determined or steely or bullish or even stubborn, in fact. And then in the letter of James, where we debate whether or not we're supposed to do something for the good of the world, I see a great sense of integrity. Faith is purposeful. maybe even a bit scrutinized. It is active with the correct rationale for it. By being well informed, it is rightly oriented. With focus, it is upright. And in being executed with grit and even some gruff, it is effective. Steely and stubborn, upright for the right reasons, with a bit of grit and gruff. So very respectfully, and in the best sense of the terms, this brings me to Iron Mike. That is, to Father Mike Morrison, Creighton's 22nd and longest serving president. First and always a Jesuit, and for a while, a good long while, our president here. I would like to talk about Iron Mike as a paradigm of faith, and I would like to do so through his ministry at Creighton University. Back in his philosophy studies as a young Jesuit in St. Louis, he is remembered for blazing through a 20-volume set on the American Civil War. He came to this university from Creighton Prep, where he in fact taught history and credentialed in history. In coming to Creighton University, he taught in the classrooms here and was quickly promoted to academic vice president. In his first major administrative job, he remained active in the classroom. In 1979, with the start of the Jesuit Humanities program that I just referenced a minute ago as a student in 1996, Mike was one of the first teachers of the honors courses of that program. Now, we Jesuits are not always the easiest judges of one another, but Mike is remembered by Jesuits from those years as remarkable, as astute, masterful in the classroom. He taught a course on the history of the Catholic Church in the United States with no notes, without an outline. He enlivened a sense of the American Catholics as they struggled, faced persecution, grew, gained momentum and influence, and achieved a sense of prominence in religious, social, and political life, even here in the city of Omaha. A great teacher is always a good student. Not long after becoming president, he taught himself accounting, and with gained expertise, more of Iron Mike began to emerge. Mike had some experience with budgets in his vice presidential role, but he always yearned for a fuller picture of the complex reality of Creighton University. One quiet weekend, Father Morrison went to the computer store and he purchased Lotus 123, an early spreadsheet program. He installed it on his computer and he devoted himself for the rest of the weekend for logging in the audits of the past 10 years. And he created what one person remembers as a really ugly spreadsheet. Armed with information, he kept his finance folks on their toes. And there are stories that he knew the budgets of Creighton's colleges and schools better than some of the deans themselves. Mike indeed scrutinized spending, and the stories of Iron Mike and athletics are myriad. Let's just say that the relationship was artful, and the irony of his name being on one of the best intercollegiate soccer stadiums in NCAA Division I sports is not lost on many who knew him. And yet, I will say, with information privy to me in my position, reveals that Mike indeed, in the end, supported that fantastic structure that bears his name, and in the process of making it possible, he also brokered other essential enhancements to the Creighton University campus. Father Mike Morrison is known for not liking to travel, and he hated airplanes. So for those long trips to Hawaii, the Jesuit community were quick to step up and take his place. But what might not be recognized is his love for trains. The 10th Street Viaduct, just south of the Old Market, was a favorite perch of his, and watching coal trains come in and out of the city was a cherished pastime. He loved the clickety-clack of the trains, and more so the rumble of the viaduct as they passed beneath him. And so back to the computer store he went, Installed on his computer now was a train simulator program to let him drive his own trains on a vibrating bridge or at his own desk, and perhaps not unlike his expansion of Creighton's compelling educational mission. From Omaha, Nebraska, he navigated the Great Plains, the Rocky Mountains, and each of our coasts. It is recalled that in one given year, the Union Pacific forgot to send him its annual publication, a pictorial calendar of trains, and after a bit of grumbling and fuss, President and CEO John Kennefick himself hand-delivered a copy to Mike in his office. Mike was a respected colleague of the stalwart and the famous CEOs of Omaha's multinational companies, and he is credited with creating and maintaining relationships and friendships that continue enriching our educational mission with perspective, with expertise, and with great resources. His dedication to Creighton's educational mission was unwavering. A former parent of a student in my classes likes quoting Father Morrison, who often said, "We're Harvard, but with ethics." He knew the power and the impact of core curricular studies. Outside the classroom and about campus, he also encouraged faculty and staff to embrace our Jesuit Catholic identity. He empowered Jesuits here to better share a sense of our mission, and he recruited other Jesuits from elsewhere to come and build up strong collaborative programs. In 1997, toward the end of his presidency, he catalyzed Ignatian formation programs with personal invitations from himself on his letters to 500 supervisors across campus, and he attended the first of each of 9 different orientation programs just that year. A favorite and enduring image of Father Morrison is simple, but so profound. Affront the church that we are in, and on a bench now named after him, he was a president visible to anyone and conversant with everyone, most especially the students. He learned their names and he learned what they needed, and he advocated for them. Roommate conflicts, problems in the classrooms, financial needs, these were embraced and tended to. His fondness for Native American students, especially those from Red Cloud Indian School on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota. His care for students is a standout that will never fade from Creighton's mind. It is said that significant proposals and strategic initiatives asked of him were always countered with the question, how will this help our students? If you didn't have a convincing and thoughtful answer for Iron Mike, the conversation was done. Of his life and legacy and in and of a campus we know and love so much, we have much to say about a man of the Society of Jesus. And as with you in your own life, and all of us who are indeed made in the image and likeness of God, it says something of Jesus. So you're not off the hook. Who do you say that I am? It's a question for us today. Let your answer showcase your own theology of Jesus. Let it expose your own needs and desires. And let it demonstrate something of your commitment to humanity and bringing about the kingdom of God. And as you do so, well remember the especial frequency of faithfulness, great determination, and true integrity of Father Mike Morrison.